Hey guys, Happy New Year and welcome back to User Experience Points. This week we're going to talk about Kingdom Hearts 2.5 HD Remix. This is kind of a fun and exciting one because this is the first game compilation I've done, so I wanted to see what kind of user experience it has as far as navigating between the 3 games available, and since they're all part of a series, it's interesting to see how the user experience actually develops throughout. So let's get into it. So let's talk about that multi-game navigation. At the main menu you can choose between Kingdom Hearts 2, Birth by Sleep, and Recoded. And for each one, you get a confirmation before you jump in to make sure that that's the one you want, which is great because otherwise you've committed about a minute of your time, since each game requires you to sit there and wade through the normal splash screens before getting to the title screen. And then you get the back command, which is nice because it's actually consistent through all 3 games. Even though I wouldn't say the average play session involves jumping between the 3 games, it's nice that it's that easy if you need it. Starting a new game in both Kingdom Hearts 2 and Birth by Sleep is a nice experience that keeps things simple by having you first select your difficulty. This is very well done, with each one having a very clear description. This is then followed by rumble selection. Pretty simple. What's really nice is that Kingdom Hearts 2 actually gives you a summary of your choices before you begin. Even though you're only dealing with 2 choices, it's always good to give your users a summary when they've gone through some kind of wizard-like setup. Kingdom Hearts 2 starts off a little clunky with its tutorials. You're guided through a bunch of really brief sections that teach you one function of the game. Now this is fine and it keeps your mental load low because you're not having everything assaulted at you at once, but it's also a little strange when it leaves you off with something else you can do with that ability but then just takes you to the next function. Like right after it teaches you to jump, it tells you that you can hang off ledges but doesn't give you an opportunity to actually try that. One thing I do like is that all of the face buttons will advance the tutorial dialogue. This is nice if it's giving you a specific button command and you end up pressing it just by looking at the dialogue and not necessarily reading it, but it'll still move you along. This way the dialogue box isn't holding you up when you're just trying to press circle to jump. The most impressive by far though are the messages that pop up in your menus teaching you the more complicated aspects of the game, like equipping abilities and adjusting your items. These can get a little busy because of the game's colorful graphic design, but they do an excellent job of breaking down these complicated tasks into really simple steps. And unlike the previous tutorial messages, these can be brought up again at any time in case they need a refresher. Overall, I give these tutorials high praise for spacing things out so you're not assaulted with too much information at once, though the actual pacing can be a little frustrating. For example, it was decided that you don't have complete access to the game's options right off the bat, which was very frustrating for me because I do not understand the game's inverted left and right camera controls, and I can't even adjust those until I have access to my options menu. Easily my favorite part about the user experience designed in Kingdom Hearts 2 is the menu itself. Once the game finally stops holding your hand and you have access to everything, the menu is amazingly designed. Regardless of whether you're managing items, equipping abilities, customizing party actions, or even messing around with your options, everything is very consistent. And everything has descriptions. This is so important in video game menu design, especially when you're dealing with esoteric terms like strike raid, or getting the complete context for party AI selection. These well-written descriptions make sure that you always know exactly what you're doing, even though you're playing a game where Mickey Mouse does this. There's also an excellent consistent use of breadcrumbs and using the triangle for shortcutting certain actions like equipping abilities without having to select them first. Another excellent touch is the shortcut between the items and abilities menus, which you're going to be using the most. Things get a little busier in Birth by Sleep, but it still uses the same good, consistent design. I've only got a few nitpicks here. The first is the way the controls are displayed at the top of the screen. For some reason, whenever the select button is available, it's described in text versus using a picture of the button itself. This threw me off at first when I was trying to bring up the tutorials again and kept pressing the L and R buttons. I also don't understand why the difficulty you selected at the beginning of the game shows up in the options menu, since it cannot be changed. Including it here gives the user a conflicting message. While I completely understand that players should be able to access this information, it would make more sense to me if it was hanging out with your current money and playtime, since that's information that's overall to your current playthrough. Though on the other hand, I could see a player instantly going to the options section if they thought they could change the difficulty, so I suppose it's the fastest way for them to find out that they can't. And if it were in the money and time section, which are things that actually can change, they might get the impression that they could change it somewhere and go look for it anyway. You know what? I've convinced myself. It's a little weird that it's in the options menu, but it does make sense.
I guess.
And finally, let's talk about Kingdom Hearts Recoded. This is the oddball of the package because you're actually just getting the cutscenes from this game instead of the full experience. So if you sit down and start it, you're basically just watching a really long movie. But the way you actually navigate it is pretty well done, even though I would like it to be made more clear that it is saving your progress once you go back to the title screen. It's nice that you can jump back in whenever you want by just hitting continue. You can also skip around to the chapters section, which has a nice touch of labeling cutscenes you've already seen in blue, and labeling the ones that are just dialogue over what used to be gameplay. Overall, I'm very impressed with the simplicity of design when it comes to navigating between the games in this compilation, and just how well everything holds up with the older games, especially Kingdom Hearts 2. It just goes to show that good user experience design is timeless. And that wraps us up for this week. Thank you so much for watching. It's a whole new year and I'm really excited to see where I can take this channel in 2015. You guys have been great, you're leaving me awesome feedback, so keep it coming and I will see you all next week.